Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Deep Shift, a podcast about the shift in consciousness that's taking place on this planet. I've got a very special guest today, Aurora Esmeralda. She is a Cornell certified plant-based nutritionist, yoga instructor, and a transformational wellness coach from Los Angeles, California. Aurora, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Michael. I'm so excited.
So you're from LA?
Uh, yeah, well, let's just say the last 18 years of my life were in LA. So part of my biggest development as a young woman and into my consciousness is definitely in Los Angeles. Hard to believe, but I'm sure you can relate. And
Indeed.
now I live in Tulum. So I'm in Mexico right now, down in the Mexican Caribbean.
Yeah, and just before we hit record, you were telling me a story about your grandma, which is absolutely remarkable. I mean, she was like a light worker. She was way ahead of her time, and she was working in the government, right? She was the first woman congressman.
That's right. So, first woman congressman of Mexico back in the 50s, and just an amazing woman overall. She was uh, born on I live right now down in the Caribbean, but she was down in Nayarit, which for you that have, dabbled a little bit into psychedelics, Nayarit is it's where peyote or hickory comes from. So, a huichol. She was huichol, and her husband ended up being a Cora, which is another one of the Native tribes. So she already had the medicine working inside of her for sure in her DNA. And, uh, funny enough, because I didn't learn much about her, given the fact that I never met my father when I was growing up. I didn't know much about her story. I just knew that I was named after her. As to why, I never really ceased to ask until later when I was an adult and had already graduated. But, similar to me, she left home at a really young age. So there's not much history on, her story as to before the age about 13. So at the age of 13, she left, her community in Nayarit, went to Jalisco, which is in Guadalajara, and she studied there. She's one very young girl, super super intelligent, a fellow Sagittarius as well. So she was born December 9th. I was born December 1st. Funny
Oh,
similarities.
Sagittarius. Okay.
Yeah, funny similarities there. And she went all the way to be one of the children that got full academic scholarships by politicians that were trying to help the communities. And she ended up getting her JD and became a lawyer, met my grandfather when they were in school, and then they relocated to Baja California Norte, Mexicali, which is the the state that's connected to California and the capital of that state. So there's where she actually ran for Congress and won. She used to get a lot of support from American women in the US because California was right there in the border town. And she put a stop to child labor, gave women the right to vote and be voted for, and just rallied up that in that time. It's amazing because she rallied up 10,000 women without any, social media or any form of technology possible,
Wow.
and just received so much of support. So yeah, she was total light worker, and, just ahead of her time and trying to make humanity a better place. But, as we know, what they've done in the past to people that have such a huge presence and a huge platform and such a huge mission ahead of them, sometimes their wings are cut and interrupted, but that doesn't mean that the consciousness doesn't get to come back and say hello, here I am again.
Yeah. And she was essentially killed, right? For
Yeah, she she was just, I think, I it's funny that this is coming to me right now. I've struggled a lot to show up, on social media and to actually share my truth and my message. And I've wondered a lot, where it's come from, and I dabble into it. Well, it makes sense when you've been killed in the past for speaking your truth and having such a
Mhm.
powerful message to give. It can be a little daunting, and I think a lot of us right now that are feeling this deep shift and that are remembering who we are and why we're here, we've experienced a little bit of that, but yeah, I think the main two messages that she was able to have a huge platform and deliver, and the main reason why she kind of got a target put on her, was first, the vetoing down of a bill in an entire body, not just of people, but of congressmen, and her being a woman. And the veto was basically a bill that was being introduced to increase the sentencing for criminal acts. And she understood at a core, level that is not how we change, humanity. That is not how we better the world. That is not how we help people. We need to deal with it at the infancy level, making sure that women and children are being provided for, so that, we don't grow up in trauma, completely forgetting who we are, why we're here. And then the other thing that she spoke about was during International Women's Day, there was news stations and everything back then, and she got on the platform and spoke directly to women, telling them that we had a responsibility to emancipate ourselves from the role that the church had placed on us when it comes to being, these Susie homemakers and staying at home and just serving the man. Not that there's anything wrong with that. She was a beautiful housewife, had 3 children, and was also in Congress. So, she was just saying, you can also do much more than just stay at home. That was, at that time, was not taken very lightly by, the powers that be, because there was obviously all men at the time, and the divine feminine was completely suppressed. So yeah, pretty powerful consciousness back then that she carried. So they mandated her quickly on a plane to travel to Mexico City, and then that plane conveniently exploded in the air 3 times. That was the end of her flight at the age of 33.
Wow.
So 33. Yeah, right? It's like, wait, what am I doing with my life?
Wow, she accomplished so much. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing her story. I just think,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what an incredible being. And yeah, a lot of us have that kind of trauma. Like, we're scared to share because perhaps in a previous lifetime we were killed for sharing truth and good knowledge. I know a lot of people who have that, and I have certainly had that in the past. Yeah. Recently though, just something switched where it's like, you just share, as long as I'm sharing from my heart, I don't really care too much what people say. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, no, I just felt the need to share. Like, that's been the message for me as well, because the times I've felt that perhaps, from the past, again, 2020 has been a total game changer. I'm sure you agree with that. For us that were seeing it, that knew what was up, that just couldn't put it into words, that felt that, ooh, maybe we're going to be called even more crazy if we share this. So for us to now fully come into our embodiment of who we are, and really sharing from a place of love, because there's so much, and it can come, sometimes a little controversial, a little dynamic, a little intense for people. If we just share from a place of love, and let that be the intention, I think we can't miss the target, and really, like, landing in people's hearts and helping that expansion come even further.
Yeah, so much so. It's such a wonderful time. I mean, 2020, like everything that I've been doing, everything I've been speaking about has all come about in 2020. Podcast started 2020, like during lockdown. It's amazing to think how many people are still just, at their family home or just staying at home. And life is so different than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
For the entire world. Like what is currently happening to the psyche of humanity, I don't think we'll be able to realize for like 10 or 20 years. Like, there's so much currently going on in terms of families that are being healed. All the family dramas, everything, like all the creation, everything that people were escaping from by going to the bars, go to the clubs, like just going out and like escaping and finding, that's all gone. Everyone's looking at their shadows. So right now everyone's shadows are coming up in pretty significant ways.
Oh yeah, I had my last little, I felt it was like the last dark hour of the soul for me. I've had many in this lifetime, but I think I finally went through like the last little, like, poof, so that I could, like, oh, okay, there's nothing to really fear. But you really got to sit with it. It's some heavy, dense, and it still comes up. I'm not saying it doesn't, but when it comes up, having the awareness that it's just energy that needs to get released, that needs to come to the surface for us to feel it, observe it, accept it by feeling it, release it, and then in itself it transforms. So that way, if it does come again, because it comes in waves, as I'm sure you felt it. Sometimes, it feels like a big cloud, and sometimes it just feels like waves that hit you in the face out of nowhere. You're like, whoa, where did that come from? And what I've experienced, I feel like it's just trauma that's in our DNA from multiple lifetimes, from this lifetime, that's just coming to the surface for it to be released. And our job is to not, identify and create a story and like go into it and just let it come up, like you said, using your hands to like move it. That's really cool. I used it. I was like, oh, this actually works.
Yeah,
And
amazing.
creating a new core belief for yourself. It's super, super important, when the shadow comes up and tries to make you believe that you're not enough, or that you don't belong here, or whatever it is, you're not lovable, whatever story it tries to show up with, you can see it for what it is and thank it, and just remember who you are, and really, really commit to who you are. Like, that's our work right now. Is one of my fellow light workers said it in one of his videos. It's almost like we're training our warrior right now, so there's a lot of energy that's just like shifting and coming, and our job is just to kind of stay present with it. Do not try to push it away. If it comes up, sit with it. And again, it can be a little heavy and daunting, and if you have someone that you can have hold space for you, super, super empowering, and be grateful for that. But if not, don't be afraid to really sit with it yourself, because it will pass. And the more that you train yourself, I think, psychedelics have done that for some of us as well, is going deep into that darkness and realizing, oh, it's my creation. It's nothing separate from me coming to get me. It's just my creation wanting to be seen and accepted, and then released, so that I can actually step into the powerful being that I truly am. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it makes total sense. And right now it's like we're going through an ascension process as a human race, and we don't stay the same. That's the thing with this reality. Evolution exists and we continue to evolve, and right now we're at a point where we need to evolve consciously as a species. And we're either going to do that or we're going to destroy ourselves. We're kind of teetering on the line between the two at this moment, and everything from the pandemic to Trump getting elected, like everything that's triggering us or bringing out shadows, it's all meant for healing. And right now we are all being healed. And for me, it's like, yeah, I go through those waves as well, where all of a sudden, I'm like, I feel like I'm on top of the world. Everyone's reaching out, and then sometimes I just feel like I don't want to do anything. Yeah, and I was feeling that last night, and I just like, I know enough to get when I get in those moments to just stop everything. I sat down, I just closed my eyes, and I just tuned in. And what I heard was to go to the sauna. There's a local sauna,
Mhm.
and when I go in there, I just sweat. It's so hot that it's kind of like your body thinks it might be dying, And when you get in that mode where you start to think like life or death, like this is so crazy, like I should get out, but no, it's just my mind telling me to. I get tons of epiphanies and downloads, and that it shifted my energy enough to put me back. Okay, I'm back on track now. I'm ready to continue down this path. But there's so many tools and tips that are available for people. Breath work, saunas, sweating, jogging, psychedelics. Um, I know you have studied as a plant-based nutritionist, and you've also healed yourself using nutrition, which I think is super cool. How did that go? How did that go where you were able to heal yourself?
Oof. Well, I think you just mentioned something that's super important. You gotta surrender. I think that was a big one for me when I got the diagnosis of having cancer after I had dealt with bulimia for way too long, over a decade. Um, and then getting diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 25.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like for me, and because if you see some of my videos that I share on my wall, you know a little bit about my story. I had just already accomplished a lot in my professional life, but also like within my own person, I had overcome so much. We can say just challenges that I intentionally chose before I came here so that like my soul could develop, right? Didn't feel like that when I was going through it though. So by the time that I was diagnosed and was, dealing with that, I was just tired. I was really tired of being a human being. I was tired of struggling and one thing after another, even though I kept, I don't want to say surviving, but almost like excelling and thriving. It was just like the heaviness of it. Enough already. So for me, what ended up happening is I I knew too much at the time about what was going on in the medical industry. When you're woke, you're woke. And I knew that going in by myself, thankfully, I think now I'm really grateful that I was by myself. I didn't have family or a significant other or anybody pushing me to go get treatment. Instead, I kind of sat with myself and I had to, you know, vision my life, what that was going to look like. Okay, well, if I go in, I know that they're going to have me do chemo. I'm going to lose my hair. I'm going to lose my breast. I'm going to go into at least $250,000 in debt. For what? For me to live, like a broken human in a lot of debt and not understanding how this even happened, afraid of my own existence at that point. I'd rather not. So I basically fell on my knees and I demanded clarity and guidance as to how this happened, what was going on within me, or for me to just be taken home because I was tired. I was really, really tired. Like, yo, death is an option. I'm in. So I either get the clarity and the guidance as to how this happened, or you guys take me home because I'm not going to do that. And, at the time I was working in a corporate job, I had full benefits because of the situation. So I wanted to make sure that, I wasn't being ignorant either about it. I was going to the best radiology center in Thousand Oaks at the time, not getting chemo, but getting seen and going, under x-rays with the best medical professionals in Southern California. And at the same time, my corporate job had these really, really connected beings that pretty much led me down the rabbit hole and said, hey, check this out, check this out, check this out. And so I just started putting the pieces together after watching a really great documentary for those of you that are interested in checking it out. At the time, it was Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead by Joe, I forgot his name, but he's the guy that kind of got the juice movement up and running at the time with the Breva, I can't pronounce the name, juicers. But his story in itself was very, yeah, on
it's
Netflix,
free
right?
on YouTube. It's right now. It's on YouTube. It's free on YouTube now, so anyone can just go
perfect.
can watch it. It's
Great,
really,
yeah,
really good.
super great story about the power of plants. Really, what he did, he basically went on a 60-day juice cleanse, and he had a terrible autoimmune disease, which breast cancer is an autoimmune disease as well, and he decided to transform his life by juicing, and lo and behold, you see the transformation before your eyes. Like, he documents it all. So I thought to myself, hey, I have nothing to lose. I mean, I might as well. I'm already dying. Let's see what happens. And I kid you not, Michael, within 2 months, I mean, if you follow and you are familiar with Dr. Greger, who runs nutritionfacts.org, completely free nonprofit site, provides all of the studies and all the information needed if you really want to heal yourself. So I'm like super into nutrition. Not only did I get certified by Cornell, but even before that, I was just reading all the books, like every single thing. One of my favorite authors, for those of you that are interested, is also Kimberly Snyder. She's in Fat, Sick, and Nearly, no, she's in What the Health, also a plant-based nutritionist. And I've always been fascinated with the ability of the body to heal itself if you just put it in the right environment and give it the right nutrients. Like, it's a miracle machine. And of course it is, because it holds our consciousness, right? So how can it not possibly have the consciousness itself to heal itself? So after just changing my diet, it was an entire, well, not my diet. From diet, it went to all the beauty products. From the beauty products, it went to household products. And from there, it just started to become an entire lifestyle transformation for me, as I understood that, I mean, it's all connected. And, what we put in our body has a tremendous effect in how we feel, how we think, how we perform, the consciousness that flows through our body, and just our entire existence. And, also our skin is our biggest organ. So the products that we put on the outside also have a big effect on the purity of our blood, is really what it comes down to, right? Because our consciousness is held in our DNA. So the more that we start to eat for healing and transform our DNA at a cellular level, our consciousness can't help but to literally elevate and grow and expand. And then you have those moments like you when you just remember where you came from.
So you switched up everything in your life, like so the products. Let's say like what did you switch from your household products from and to?
So, well, it's different now that I'm in Mexico, but back in LA, super easy for you guys to be able to go to any what we call health food stores. So whether that's Whole Foods, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, or even your local farmers markets, you would probably be able to find products, household products, not so much, but like um, produce and local plant-based products you'll be able to find there. But household products, definitely Whole Foods, definitely Sprouts. You'll find some at Trader Joe's. Even your local Safeway and Rails now have like 7 Generations, one of my favorites for laundry detergent. The chemicals in your clothes and your towels, they affect, they go straight to your brain. Beauty products mostly, or what we call beauty products. Toothpaste, super important because of all the chemicals, the fluoride, the coloring, all that goes straight into your gum line, and that also goes straight into your bloodline or your DNA. So you have to be very discerning of what you're putting into your mouth. So definitely toothpaste, mouthwash, your shampoo, your conditioners, your body wash. So I tend to go for Avalon has some really good shampoos and conditioners, but there's a lot. If you go through the store, just kind of look at what may call your energy, what you gravitate towards. Look at the ingredients list, and you want to make sure that it doesn't have any parabens, any chemicals. They should let you know at the front of the packaging. They're very diligent with that. For like body wash and facial wash, and it has actually 18 uses. I use Dr. Bronner's soaps, one of my favorites. I don't know if you're
Dr.
familiar
Bronner's
with
is great.
it. I love it. I love it.
He
I
also has
can't
a
live
great
without it.
camp at Burning Man.
Oh, yes. And they always just share a lot of love and a lot of,
It's a
great products with us. So I
giant
love their stuff.
human
Yeah.
foam shower
Oh my God. I haven't been. I want to go.
/ dance party / Alex Gray painting up on stage.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Remarkable.
We're
And they're always
phenomenal.
like Paul Stamets was outside teaching people who were waiting in line about mycelium and mushrooms.
I
But
love it.
yes, Dr. Bronner's is a remarkable company. You could also sit in the shower and read their bottle for like 5 hours. It's kind of,
Right. They have great toothpaste and all kinds of great products.
but along the
So,
lines of what you were saying, it's like I went to my parents' house and they had those like pods you put in the dishwasher,
mm,
and I originally a long time ago showed them like, oh, these things work so well. It's like Cascade, it's like it literally gets rid of everything. You could have like food all over your dishes, and if you use those, it just cleans it remarkably. And then I like looked into them and I'm like, oh wait, it says like do not consume. I'm like, but you're literally putting it on the plates. But they're like, oh no, it washes off. And so I took 1 cup from that, and I took one just like a regular cup that was like hand washed and dried real well, and I filled them both with water and used a stir. And the stir that I used for the one that went through the Cascade, by the end of it, there was like foam at the top. I'm like, it's not all coming off. So you're literally every single time drinking water, drinking the chemicals of that pod constructed just to get food off. Not about people's health, just to get food off.
just get food off. Yeah.
Just to get
No,
food
never.
off. No.
And I'm glad that you bring that topic up, because this is where my, crazy controversial person comes out, but I've learned to tame her a little bit. It's really almost like a shock to the system, right? And I know it can be a lot for our family members. Your viewers probably already know this, but there's a deliberate war against our consciousness, and it's been happening for so long. And it's everything that is pretty much promoted and is sold very cheaply to us and forced on us is designed to prematurely kill you. And you may say, well, it's just very small dosages. There's nothing, the body is immune and it can handle it. Yeah, if it was little small dosages here and there, but when it's small dosages here and there and everywhere and everything, it starts to become a problem. When you start to see that especially in places like America where things are mass produced and mass consumed, um, you start to notice that the consciousness isn't really happening as in other places of the world where everything is made locally fresh, um, made consciously to keep the environment safe, because all of those things are going back into the environment one way or another, and the environment is feeding us one way or another. So everything grows from Mother Earth. So the soil and the water that goes into the soil is the same water that's being polluted with pharmaceutical drugs, with chemicals, with all of the stuff that we're not consciously thinking about, and it starts to become a problem.
Well, we started to worship the dollar here in this country,
Yeah,
above
right.
everything else. If you're making money, you're successful and people look up
Exactly.
to you. If you're selling sugar water that literally makes people obese and kills them, it's like, well, I mean, you're making a lot of money, you got cool ads, so it's okay. But yeah, we do not have people's best interest in mind. And that's why I think it's so important to vote with your dollar. And I
Huge.
spend more money when I buy nearly everything for my house because it's all natural products. And I try to find it, even the small companies who make things very consciously. So I want to get back to your story. So did you cure your breast cancer through what your new lifestyle?
I'm not legally allowed to say that because they'll try to come after me and sue me. But what I can tell you is, what I
Well,
can tell you
yes.
is from my personal experience, I did not do chemo. I did not go in. My breasts are still intact. My hair is still here. 10 years later, I'm 35 years old now. Funny enough is I was struggling earlier because I was telling you I had a lot of blockages. I'm like, and I wanted to be very presentable and do my hair and makeup, but I didn't have time. So I'm literally full face bare. I only have a little bit of mascara just to make sure my eyes can pop and I don't look all sleepy. But
Well, you look great.
I thank you. Well, the point is, from when I was younger, I look way better. My skin's way better. I feel way better about myself. I wouldn't have the confidence 10 years to come on video with no makeup, with now, professional hair, being, in the entertainment industry as long as I was, and, feel comfortable just sharing my truth. But, that's the power of healing yourself and really being committed to, your journey and your purpose and helping others. So yeah, fruits, veggies. I ate mostly raw juices, smoothies, raw fruit. There's a main topic that I want to talk about right now when you were saying about voting with your dollar. There's a war on fruit that's been going on, and I just like finally heard it from somebody else. I knew about it because I work with a lot of clients, and one of the biggest issues that I have is getting people, especially if they're dealing with diabetes or they are obese or they're women, and they don't want to eat fruit because there's been this misinformation war on spreading lies about fruit,
Mm.
that it's bad for you, that there's too much sugar, that you know all kinds of ridiculousness, when trust me, I thrive mostly off of fruit. Like, I live in the Caribbean, I eat mangoes, I eat pitaya, which is dragon fruit, almost every day. It's out of season now, but I'm sad. But when I'm, I can get, it's so affordable here, so affordable because it grows here. I eat little bananas. I eat, what else? I said mangoes already. Pineapples. I'm looking over there because it's normally where I have all my um, peels. Lychee or rambutan. And it's just amazing because it's so affordable here and it tastes so good. And I noticed, ever since I moved here, I've been living here now for 3 years. Again, I feel better. I look better. It's like the energy that flows through me is more empowering rather than disempowering. When I was living in LA, it was just so difficult to eat healthy, so expensive, so limiting. And I just, again, being disconnected from Mother Earth herself, right? The energy that you feel when you're, say, I know you relocated as well, so you're probably more in nature, more you can actually, get your downloads, you can connect, you're more at ease. And when you're more at ease, things just, source can just come and do its magic with us. But when I was not, eating this way, I remember I struggled a lot with depression, a lot with anxiety. I just didn't want to be in my body. I didn't want to be on this planet. And obviously the inflammation in my body, I could feel it. It hurt. I used to kill myself at the gym just to try to be okay with feeling good. And now, I do a committed hour of yoga every day because that's my moving meditation to myself, and also moving the energy because I'm highly sensitive, as I'm sure you are. And sometimes when these waves of energy, come through, I do the same, I'm like, well, I can sit here and I can, let it consume me, or I know better because I have the tools that I need to breathe it out and I need to move it out. So my big thing is just I throw my yoga teacher who I have classes with online every day. He has a great network if you guys are interested with different languages and different levels. For those of you that, you know, want to learn yoga and actually, want to get better at it. But right now, I think yoga studios might be closed, or you don't have, like me, I traveled a lot. It was very difficult to always find a yoga studio. So having it at my disposal on my phone and just listening to the instructions has been like my saving grace for the last 8 years.
What's his name?
Rudy Mattia, he's the yoga warrior. He was really well known in LA. He studied with Brian Kest. Not sure if you remember him. But the website is udaya.com, udaya.com. And I think it's like $14.99 a month or something.
Nice.
Super affordable. Yeah, less than a yoga class, for the whole month. And it's really worked out for me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really awesome. That's really awesome. So was your doctor surprised as you were progressing?
Absolutely. Like I said, I had a corporate job at the time. So the reason for it was I needed to have health insurance. And as we know in America, getting sick is not a joke. It's very expensive. Hence why there's a lot of money in keeping us sick and disempowered. So
True.
I went back to my doctor and he had to call in a second opinion and the third opinion because they couldn't believe that my tumor had actually shrank. I mean, here's the thing with cancer. Once you have it, it never really goes away, right? It could. I believe anything's possible. But the thing is it growing? Now in America, the majority of people have cancer and heart disease. And at the age of 10, our fatty streaks are starting to form at the age of 10 if you were on the standard American diet like I was. I came from a very low income family where my mom was an entrepreneur and she was trying to make it. She did her best to always make food at home, but we were still consuming a majority of animal products because that's, the way we were trained to eat, especially Mexico traditionally used to be vegetarian, vegan, right? Corn, avocados, tomatoes, nopal, black beans, rice, like everything we consumed, tortillas, everything was plant-based. It wasn't until the industrial agriculture industry came through and they started destroying our land, our beautiful land with sacred fruit, and started putting in, these slaughterhouses. Now you see everyone sick and prematurely dying. And the same thing's happening in America, at the age of 10. I was obese at the age of 10. Hence why, later on I developed bulimia. I was at war with myself at a really young age and highly sensitive. I didn't feel good, also getting picked on, and and just wanting to be loved and accepted by others. So it was definitely a journey to go from being obese, dealing with bulimia, developing cancer, and that's why for me it was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't get it. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what's the deal here? And eventually being thrown down the rabbit hole and like metamorphosing into this empowering woman that I am, talking about energy and nutrition and understanding it, like being able to, it's almost like, I'm sure you get the information and it's like, oh my God, and being able to share it with others and help them on their journey. Because it's not fun to be at war with yourself and like not know how to eat. And it's not your fault. 85% of the population is dealing with this. Why? Because it's an easy way to keep us, completely disconnected from ourselves. Imagine if you were eating high vibrational plant-based food from the ground, full of, the energy, the information from source, because food is information and everything is energy. And then, so you're consuming, organic, meaning the soil is there, the water is there, it's pure, the air, the sun, there's no freaking chemicals being sprayed on it. It has the most potent energy from source information, and then we consume that, and then we're super connected and we're living abundant, joyful lives. But that's not the majority of reality. That's not the reality for majority of people, unfortunately. And I know that because I had to live it and I had to come to this, and this is what really transformed my life. Hence why I created my whole thing, Transformation of Self, because it's the best way to explain it. It was really a journey of experimenting with myself because I had nothing to lose, and I was completely surrendering to going back to source, and source was like, okay, honey, here you go.
Wow. It really is a transformation of self. And I feel like a lot of people are going through that right now with COVID. And, we're
Yeah.
realizing that like viruses exist all the time and everywhere. We have viruses coming in and out of us, but our immune system is so strong that
Mhm.
kills them and gets rid of them. Same with cancer cells. Those appear, disappear. The immune system just takes care of them. It's when the body is in a state that's a little bit lower that all of a sudden, it can develop into something. And
Correct.
I feel like people are recognizing that a bit more now than ever because so many people are so focused on health,
Yeah, thank God.
strengthening the
It's a
immune system.
trillion-dollar industry.
Yeah. And
And
I'm intrigued to see as to what comes from the global research from this virus. Because there's never been this much poured in, this many resources poured into trying to fix a certain thing. And I think there's going to be residuals of all different kinds of healings that come from this. I think it's purposeful.
it's the global reset. We wanted this. I mean, I truly believe, like, if you think about it, right?
Global
Like,
reset.
I look at my parents. My parents didn't have a break. Their parents didn't have a break. Their parents didn't have a break. Like, humanity's been enslaved for how long? And I
Basically,
think
since the
this is the
beginning of humanity.
right, right. So since the invasion, and what I find fascinating, I'm getting chills right now, and it's like hot and humid here. What I
Ooh,
find
truth bumps.
fascinating, what I find fascinating right now is like the fact that everything had to stop, right? They try to create this fear-based reality for us that forced us to stop, but then consciousness took over and said, okay, yeah, we're gonna stop. Y'all gonna do your shadow work, and simultaneously you're gonna get a break so that you can actually do your shadow work and you can
Wow.
actually start to heal, because you couldn't do it before. Everyone was so busy chasing money. I mean, I left LA 3 years ago because I couldn't do it anymore, Michael. I hit my COVID 2020 year 3 years ago. And I was like, I need to get out of here because I'm not happy. And I worked so much and I was always by myself and always like downloading and processing information, but I felt like I couldn't get to this point where I am now, where I live in paradise. I live surrounded by nature, by the elements. Um, and I'm not bragging. It's just what I needed in order for my nervous system to reset itself, because I was in so much trauma from both of my parents. I mean, they were so traumatized growing up. They came together, had me, then more trauma. They were just babies when they had me. And my mom wasn't ready or prepared to have me in a society that's literally designed to get you to self destruct. And it's on purpose because they took us away from our communities. They take us away from our communities. They gave us, like, this is your land and this is your home and your, women and your man, and this is your little immediate family. But then you guys have to work so much and so hard that you are actually not a family unit anymore. And so there's this desperate need for connectivity, for connection. And like for me, I grew up in an environment that there was a lot of trauma that just was handed down, and my mom didn't have the resources um, to work through it, nor the consciousness, nor the technology, right, nor the people. And so, as a very sensitive child, I truly believe that I literally was born to come and help her heal.
Hmm.
Even though I had to go through all of it, by myself, if you know my story. And in my starting to heal myself, she started to heal herself. But what's also been so empowering has been like being able to witness the amount of families, like you said, right now that are healing, because there's no alternative right now. This needed to happen so that we could come together and realize what's really important is our connection. So, to backtrack a little bit where I was going with this, when I grew up in, my home, I, being highly sensitive, realized that if I cried and I authentically expressed myself, that caused my mom a lot of stress because she didn't know how to deal with it. She didn't have the tools either. She was a baby that had a baby, right? And so I learned very young that I needed to disconnect from my authenticity, from my needs, in order to people please and make sure that I didn't lose my survival connection to my mom. Gabor Mate talks a lot about this, if you're familiar with him. He talks about when the body says no, what is the actual cause of disease. Of course, the foods worsen the disease, but the true cause at this point is so clear, is the disconnect that we have to ourselves when we're children because of the society and the environment that we were growing up in. and watching our parents struggle and, their pain and their suffering that we internalize. And therefore, that there had to be the disconnect from ourselves in order to make it, the mind to make it. And so that's what we're healing right now, is that disconnect from ourselves, that shadow work, that all that fear that comes up, that uncomfortableness, because that's what needs to happen. If it doesn't get healed, I mean, we're literally destroying ourselves, because the body says no at one point, and it says no in the form of an autoimmune disease, in the form of some type of cancer, in the form of heart disease, in the form of multiple sclerosis.
And then before that, in the form of like a little bit of stress, just a
Yes.
little bit of like it'll give you signs far before it gets to those crazy signs, which is kind of the way the universe works. It's like
Yeah.
everything's guiding us.
Everything. And everything's like, that's the amazing part, is the greatest secret that's kept to humanity, is that the body can heal itself. Like, you can heal yourself. Like, we are that powerful, that powerful. And all you got to do is just stop doing the things that made you sick in the first place. And of course, when you're growing up in the society that we were living in, it's kind of hard to really see that when you're in it, right? You don't realize that you're actually sick. You're in a sick society. I started to really get it when I started to travel down here to Tulum and see how different people lived here, and how present they were, and how they saw that I was really stressed out and very, anxious all the time, and super controlling, and, things had to happen a certain way, and this and that. And eventually, I learned that I started to see it for what it was. Like, I'm really programmed, and this is making me sick. And if I understand that I am like a computer, my subconscious mind is like a computer, I can reprogram myself, because I understand, law of attraction, and I understand how energy works. I understand that what I give my attention to grows, and I understand that everything's an illusion and a hologram based on my creation. So I get to take my power back. I get to take my consciousness back. But I had to see my reflection of how bad it was before I realized, oh wow, I gotta do something about this, because it's not just about, the physical aspects of my health. Like, that's a big one, because until you do that, you can't change the way you think unless you change the way you eat. I strongly believe that.
Yeah. So, as a transformational wellness coach, is this what you guide people through?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot, but the nutrition part is the first part. I think that's kind of how I get them. Come here. And then from there, they become, if not lifetime friends, definitely clients for a while, for years. And we work through first understanding, our multidimensionality, that we're not just this physical body, we are multidimensional beings with a spirit that happens to, our body happens to be in our spirit. Our spirit is so big, but we're here in this body. We're connected to our higher self. We have this inner self. We have our inner child, and, the Holy Trinity within us already. So I teach you how to come back to that center, that source. And we start by understanding who we are, why we're here, how to eat in order to heal ourselves on the mental, emotional, and physical level, because it's super important. Like I said, everything is energy. Like, I didn't prepare a script or anything. Like, the words that come through me are deliberately just being channeled at the time that needs to come, and that's how I normally work with my clients. I never, thought that I would become this, if you actually knew my story from back in the days. But, that's what happened when I was basically set up by the universe to heal myself on the physical level, because if not, I was going to die. And when I did that, that's when all of my mental clarity started to come, all of my remembrance. Like, I keep laughing at that video you shared, but it literally was like that. Like, whoa, just having these moments of, wow, I'm not from here, but obviously I'm here because I was born into this planet. But wow, okay. And then I started working with other, a lot of my friends are super, clairvoyant, also ascended masters, that whether they study numerology or astrology or, the Akashic records, they've been able to study my, even my name, my birthday, and tell me the same information. None of them know each other, but it's been the same information of, oh, you're here to be a transformational spiritual teacher. And like, your message is very powerful. Don't be afraid of it. Just step into it.
Yeah.
And,
Your
now
message is very
creating,
powerful.
thanks. It's just a lot at times. And it's like, how do I, why do I try to bring it down, and at times I'm like, well, let's just focus on the nutrition part and let it, expand from there. And lately, the last, ever since I moved to Tulum, now it's been 3 years, I built a plant-based kitchen here. When I first moved here, there were no plant-based restaurants. Like, it killed me. I was like,
Wow.
how is this the healing center of North America? And yet we do not, and we're at this point in the world, because Bali's closed right now, so everyone's coming to Tulum. But there was no healthy
Wow,
alkaline
that's
food
surprising.
here. Yeah, it blew my mind. So eventually I built the kitchen, and
Nice.
now I
Good for
work
you.
with other restaurants. Yeah, thank you. Now I work with other restaurants, and I help them to also incorporate, plant-based options for detox purposes. And it makes it easier on
Right.
me, because then when I bring people down on retreats, we can also go and, enjoy other restaurants or whatnot. It doesn't have to be just the actual learning and making it at home, which is fun in itself.
Wow, way
And
to create your own reality.
yeah, I had to. I didn't have a choice, man. It was just like, I can't keep doing this. I worked so much since I was really young, and I had to, my soul was like, we're done working. And I was like, wait, what do you mean we're done? No, we're done working. So figure it out. And that was how I transitioned out of LA, because I kept one of my clients as a corporate speaker for this one client that I do a lot of trade shows and special events and international events for. Nothing to do with consciousness, everything to do with technology. But that's the last little gig that I kept. But thanks to COVID, it put a complete stop to that, because no more special events, no more trade shows, and I was basically forced to start showing up, like
Wow.
start. And I've had so many people want to do interviews with me, and it's been so great, because I'm very humbled by it, because that's my validation that you're ready, you have something special to share. Even though, as we were saying, you were mentioned earlier, it's almost like we are being forced right now to intentionally choose every single day to live with deliberate intention and integrity, if you're committed to the light. Because if not, there's so much information, misinformation, so many distractions, so much fear, and illusions being thrown our way to get us to not walk the path that we came here to walk. So for me, I'm really grateful that you called me on and had me on this. I'm really, really, really appreciative. And I hope that in the future we're able to do more together, because I really want to show up for people and be of service, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I would love for that to happen. And I love that you mentioned food as a catalyst, because I think it was Dolores Cannon that I was reading, who regresses people into a hypnotic state and they enter previous lifetimes. And she can also then bring in the subconscious, the superconscious, who she can ask any question about their lifetime, previous lifetime, who they are, or humanity at large. And they were talking about the new earth, and they were talking about the shift in consciousness that's taking place, and how can we help people awaken, like, can we share this knowledge with them? And it was like, no, a lot of people aren't ready for just straight knowledge that just it'll go over their head.
Hmm.
Start with food. Humans see food, they see health as important, and therefore once you start with that, you can then introduce more things.
But think about it this way also, from a cellular level, right? From a cellular level, the reason why food is the gateway, the portal is, it changes your molecular structure. So you're no longer dense consciousness. Because when you're eating the way I was eating, I mean, nobody take this personally, because I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me. I was eating straight up the worst density possible, decapitated body parts of dead, sick, and abused animals, loaded with fecal matter, parasites,
Oh yeah.
put in ammonia, dyed with color red. With color red is roaches, for those that don't know,
Ugh,
and sold frozen and packaged, right? That's like the healthy stuff. Mine is, let's
that's
not talk
food.
about all the other. I mean, oh my God, America is so bad when it comes to how they produce our food. And
Yeah,
that's why I'm so committed to,
it's
when
torturous.
you're eating, it's literally setting yourself up to self-destruct from the inside.
Oh yeah.
And it messes with your consciousness, because you are what you eat, right? I didn't
Mhm.
have these thoughts, I didn't see the world the way I see it, I didn't have this manifestation magic ability that I have now when I was eating that stuff. It just wasn't happening. I was still powerful, I was still creating my reality, but most of my reality was suffering, and it was hard, and it was heavy, and it was dense. And when I started changing the way I ate, I noticed that literally the shift started to be magical. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then my thoughts, my feelings, and you, you I can say this with absolute 100% guarantee. When you change the way you eat, you will change the way you feel. Because having bulimia for 10 years, being forced by my higher self to heal, which I loved, but I chose, because I was in the I was at EDCC, the what's it stand for? Eating Disorder Center of California in Brentwood, California. Shout out to them and the girls there. Beautiful, beautiful, angelic women there. They had the option, the nutritionists had the option to, because you had to eat together as a community, right? So you could choose a regular meal or a vegetarian meal. There were no options to eat vegan at the time. But that wasn't enough for me. That was enough for me to actually start to feel how my body was responding to the food. Because for the days that I was there, 4 days out of the week that I was in the center, I was consuming vegetarian. And then the days that I wasn't, I was at home and I didn't know how to make food, right? But vegetarian, vegan, that's also something that I teach you how to do. I didn't know how to prepare meals, right? So I would go to my restaurants, fancy restaurants, thinking that I was eating healthy, but I was eating, sushi, I was eating chicken, I was eating steak. Density, I could feel the pain. I felt very inflamed, and I noticed that, I don't like how I feel when I eat that. So that was my little introduction to, oh wow, food really does change the way I feel inside. And then when I did the whole, transition into, I did go raw for a huge portion, but now I do the 80-20. I strongly believe that, if you live in paradise and you have your own farm and you're growing your own fruits and veggies and all that, then I truly believe you could eat 100% raw. Because you live on your own land, you produce your own food and you make your own food, and you don't have to worry about going and working and producing and doing all this other external stuff. So you could do 100% raw, hands down. The kind of world that I live in, where I'm interacting with people that are not, vegan, their density is very, very dense. I'm very sensitive when I eat raw. It can be very clashing at times. Also, just I'm up here and then having to deal with the world out there that's so dense. It's not comfortable. So what I do is I do 80% raw, 20% cooked food. And by cooked, I mean potatoes, my grains, veggies, pastas made from like beans, and whether that's lentils or chickpeas or red beans. So I do cooked food, but mostly I eat raw because of the energy, the frequency. It's a live food. It has information for us.
Yes, so true. Yeah. And speaking of inflammation, it's like I've been researching that lately, and meats inflame the body so much. Game Changers, that was a documentary that came out recently, which was very, very,
so
very, very good. So good.
And especially for men, so good.
Yeah, especially for men. Yeah, there's some great moments in it that are kind of hilarious for men. But it's like, people think like, oh, I'm just having chicken. I don't eat any red meat, just chicken, and that inflames the body as well. And inflammation leads to, cancers, diseases, all like the whole spectrum. Inflammation is like the beginning of the end. And
exactly.
So, doing everything. And I think it's really fun. Like, it's actually a lot of fun to go on the path of eating healthy, because it opens the door to so many things, like all these different raw fruits. And I've got a garden out back, and like in my green tea, like I have,
you're so lucky,
cayenne pepper that I grew in my backyard, just in my teas, because cayenne pepper is anti-inflammatory. And it's just like, it's so much fun. Now my green tea has a little spice to it, which is just,
I like it. You like
exciting.
It spicy? No, it's so true. When because it's so funny. My mom went plant-based. I was so happy when she did that. She had her gallbladder removed, and then 8 years later, her liver was going out.
Wow.
And yeah, I didn't sugarcoat it for her. I'm like, you're dying, and I'm not going to stick around to watch you die. So, if you want to die, go ahead. I love you, but I'm too sensitive. I'm not going to partake in this. If you want my help, I'm here and I'll help you. And luckily she was like, of course, she's a very intelligent and spiritual woman. So she said yes. And she lost over 70 pounds in 6 months of like inflammation, heavy weight. It wasn't her, because she was buying the lie of eat white meat, eat chicken, eat this, turkey, and she just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Chicken industry.
Of course. And yeah, but I remember when she was like, okay, but mija, what am I going to eat? And it was just so funny, because I'm like, the question that everybody asks, like, what do you eat? And I'm like, everything. You just swap out. You actually eat so much more variety, much more colors and nutrients, because you're eating healthier. You're not just eating Oh, I just can't with the protein myth. It kills me. Get me mad is like ask me, well, what about protein? But I understand that a lot of people don't understand it.
Oh, there's
Protein
protein
is a
in kale. It's a lot of protein in
yeah,
kale.
the most protein is in green, your dark leafy greens.
Yep.
That's where it's at. That's
Hmm.
where, and also your nitric oxide, which is what you need and super vital for blood vessel health and to regenerate your blood. So let's talk about DNA healing and consciousness elevating. Eat your dark leafy greens. And then fruits are cleansers like no other. Right now, there's a freaking war, excuse my language, on fruit. And I think I was starting to talk about that earlier, but it's like, Michael, what's his? I forget his last name. No, Anthony Williams, I think. I forget his name, but he's the guy from the Medical Medium. My brain just went boop. But he has a new podcast as well. If you guys want to learn about the war on fruit, like it's a real
Mm.
thing. There is an actual war on fruit, and the way it works is misinformation that's even put into the holistic community, which kills me. Like,
Anthony
oh,
William is his name.
that's his name.
I
Yes,
just
that's
looked it up. Yeah.
a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful man. But yeah, if you look up the war on fruit, or fear of fruit, I think that's what it's called. But there's an actual war on fruit, and I know because I've experienced it. I didn't actually want to believe it until I heard his podcast, and I'm like, of course there is. And the reason for it, I'll break it down for you guys real quick. So it's misinformation by the medical industry. They even got some of the holistic individuals and influencers believing this lie. And I've heard it even with my clients who struggle understanding the importance of eating fruit. Like that's where all your vitamins, your minerals, your enzymes, your flavonoids, if you want beautiful skin, if you want great hair, if you want to reverse aging, you got to eat your fruits. Like you really, and I'm not talking about, the pre-cut ones in the fridge. I'm meaning like your dark color ones, whether you're eating blueberries or blackberries,
Mm.
a lot of pineapple, mangoes, oranges. Like you need to have a variety of fruits, specifically for chakra healing. And I'll get into that maybe in another talk. But the important part about it is now that they got people afraid of fruit, there's obviously the dollar, as you said, right? Less people buying fruits. The people that are growing fruits can't produce them because it's very expensive to keep up with the machinery and the staff. So the farm shut down. And as the farm shut down, the animal agriculture starts to take over as well. More, chemical, more processed foods, less fresh fruit the way that mother intended us to eat, mother earth, that has like all of the minerals, because minerals is where it's at, and you're going to get those from fruits because of the soil. So there's no production of fruit. When there's no production of fruit, there's less flowers, because everything's connected with the soil. Less flowers, we got less bees. Less bees, we got less butterflies. With those two pollinators being extinct, we're literally doomed, guys. So I'm not trying to be a doomsday, but I'm just bringing the awareness of we need to start consuming so much more fruit. And trust me, you're going to love it. If you want a little bit of like one of my little hints, start with the green juice. That's going to help with the detoxifying and the cleansing that you've already been doing all night. If you rather do a green smoothie, do a green smoothie. And then throughout the day, just eat fresh fruit. You can do mono meals. So one type of fruit, I eat like 5 little mangoes at a time, or I'll eat half a watermelon, and that's a whole meal for me. And then later at night, I'll consume like an actual hearty meal that's all plant-based. But throughout the day, I try to keep it really light with liquids and lots of fruit. And you're going to notice how much more clairvoyant, how much more channels you're going to get, how much more energy you'll have. You'll feel amazing. It's right now 4:12, and I've been up since like 8 o'clock in the morning. I had water. I did yoga. I've been working, and I made a little fruit smoothie. I had half of it. The rest of it's in the fridge, and I'm totally fine. Later, I'm going to have like a huge, delicious, hearty plant-based meal, but you don't need to eat a lot. And that's the other thing, when you understand that you are pure energy. And also when you're consuming food, our body utilizes its energy, 85% of its energy, to digest food. So imagine what you can be doing with that energy insofar as creating and manifesting rather than digesting food, if you are putting the best nutrients into your body. So just couple little tricks to, being more connected and feeling more empowered and bettering your body.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is your first session with Aurora. She
Thank
will
you.
take
I know.
you even deeper. Your wisdom is wonderful. Your knowledge is fantastic. I appreciate you as a being, and I just want to thank you for sharing what you do with the planet.
Thank you. I am so grateful to have connected with you. I love everything you're sharing. I've been obsessed with your account for a while, and it's truly an honor to be connected with you and, to share my just my truth, with your people. And I'm just so happy that we have this global community happening. We're all being connected in one way or another, and Source is taking care of us as we continue to really show up and share our truth and connect and support each other. We can't help but to create this new reality that's already in place. Now we're just like the ones carrying it forward. We just keep moving. So
That's
I'm so
right.
grateful. Thank you.
Yes. And how can people get a hold of you if they want to find you on the web, social media, website?
If you want to find me in the Instawebs, so on Instagram, at Transformation of Self. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. And you can go straight to my website, which is www.transformationofself.com. You can book a discovery call with me if you are interested in learning more, or you feel compelled, like maybe you want to work with me, you want to take your transformation to the next level, you want to change the way you eat, maybe you want to come down to one of my one-on-one retreats here in this magical vortex portal that I live in the Caribbean. Whatever you need, I'm here to serve you. So definitely get in touch, book a session, and let's do this.
Amazing. And I'll include links to all of that in the show notes so you can just tap away and book a discovery call. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I look forward to all the people who get to work with you because you seem like such
Thank
a
you.
wonderful, special being and just full of light. It seems
Thank
like
you so much.
you live lightly. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it wasn't like this. I mean, honestly, if for people that know me and probably that will watch this video, be like, she wasn't like this. So trust me. No, I mean, funny. Here's the funny thing. My birthday is the same as Pablo Escobar, December 1st. Kid you
Mm.
not. So I used to embody a lot of that, rage and anger. And I had to understand I'm highly, highly sensitive being, and I am very powerful, and the energy that I carry affects others. So I really had to start being responsible for my energy and being the change that I want to see in the world. Like that's really my personal mantra is I am the change I want to see in the world, and I am the love I want to see in the world. So thank you for seeing it, and letting me know I'm like really humble, and I'm really grateful that I am shining that way. It means a lot to me. So yes, yes.
Yes, and here we are. And here we are. Well, thank you so much for being
You're
on.
welcome.
And thank you guys for watching this episode of Deep Shift. Stay tuned next time for another deep dive into reality. Much love.